other fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. So it's about that time looking at the top films of 2019. I've decided not to do a top 10. I have a variety of films that I've picked, but to do top 10 I would have to push and pick a couple more that I don't really necessarily want to put onto the list. So for me this year, there's only 8 films that I have on my favourite films of 2019. Without further ado, here are my top 8 films of 2019. Number 8, Rise of the Skywalker. Look, a lot of people didn't like this, as divided audiences. Returning to the Star Wars films, I felt like a little kid again, sitting in the cinema there. The Lucasfilms comes up when then Star Wars and the music starts and the classic crawl. There's just something about that transports me back to my childhood. And I just got swept up in it. I thought it was very entertaining and really well put together. I liked it much more than Force Awakens, but I didn't like it as much as Last Jedi. Was it perfect? No. Did I agree with every choice that was made? Of course not. But I just enjoyed my experience. I found it fun and entertaining. The best parts of it were Rey and Kylo's storylines. And I know that ultimately a lot of people didn't like the Emperor reappearing, but what else were they going to do ultimately? It's in the essence of the film, it's really about good and evil. And it's about entertainment and fun. And I got swept up in it. I didn't even have time to think or worry too much about little bits and pieces that I didn't like about it. I just thought overall it was an entertaining and fun movie. Number 7, Ford vs Ferrari. I really liked this film. I like the energy of it. I love the performances, especially Christian Bale, who plays Ken Miles, who's fantastic in it and really steals the show in many ways. I like the relationships that character has with Shelby and his wife and son. I like the car race sequences are really well done. They really put you in the driver's seat and you feel and see everything a real driver would. It's just a really nice, well-made movie. It's just solid and I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I got swept up in the whole Ken Miles thing. That I did research after the film to learn a bit more about him, because I just found him a very fascinating and unique character. I enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the best films and racing car films I'd seen in a long time. Number 6 for me is Us, Jordan Peele's second film as director. I think this film is fantastic. I think there's a lot in it. There's a lot of layers to it. It's a film that each time you go back to, you draw something else out of. I've now seen this film 3 times, and each time I learn something more about it. Lupita Nyong'o is fantastic in it, playing Red and Adelaide. She's really great and a real draw to this film. I like that he sort of took different horror elements to it and different horror films. I think all of it combined created a really unique and interesting horror film that I had never quite seen. I liked the detail he put to it. I liked the fact that he made the normal humans and the tethered people from underground completely different in their appearance and the type of characters they were. I thought it was entertaining, engaging, and I got a lot out of this film, and I look forward to seeing what he does next. But I thought this was a really solid film and deserved to be top films of 2019. For me, number 5 is Rian Johnson's Knives Out. I thought this film was great. He really tackled the Agatha Christie sort of storyline, which I loved. Because he's such a genre filmmaker, he really pays homage to these genres, but he does something completely different, and this was a great example of that. It was a great ensemble cast piece. It had a lot of twists and turns in it. It was an engaging film. He sort of revealed the murder at the beginning of the film and then changed it along the way, and I really liked that. I thought all the performances were really great. It was Daniel Craig. What a great performance he gave. All the other supporting cast, such as they're all really brilliant in it, and I really liked the feel and the look of it. And he crafted a really great film. In a lot of ways, people are saying this is sort of his comeback after Last Jedi, which I still think is a masterpiece. But it's good to see him back doing a simpler, smaller film, sort of original film that's got nothing to really do, it isn't based upon a franchise or anything, it's his own unique creation. And this film was just fantastic. I had a great time with it. It was fun and entertaining, a great mystery, great performances, and definitely worthy of being on the list of this year. Number 4 is Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I thought this film was great. Upon first viewing, the only characters I really connected to were Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt, and Margot Robbie, which I kind of liked her character, even though she wasn't in much, as Sharon Tate. I thought she really created that character and brought it to life and crafted really beautiful sort of take on that particular person in a really great way. This is his love letter to Hollywood in the 60s. And he really captured something in this. It wasn't his usual storytelling. where he has characters and twists and turns along the way. Yes, it did have little bits of that, but it was really a fly on the wall. It was showing the 60s in the way he saw them and the way he experienced them. And I've seen this film 3 times now, and it's just a great, fun, entertaining movie in so many ways. I don't think too deeply about it. It's just a fun and entertaining ride. I still would like to be in the passenger seat next to Cliff Booth and go on an adventure with him, and would have loved to see the whole film, just his adventure. But I really liked the other performances in it. I think DiCaprio's solid in it. He's sort of making fun of being an actor in a way. There's a bit of depth to his character, a sadness. And he sort of feels like he's over the hill. He's lost his way. He's a has-been and not the actor he wanted to be or actor he used to be. And it's just him navigating through that, which is really great. Yes, there are violent moments in it, especially the end scene, which is pure Tarantino. But I loved the whole Manson thing. I would like to have seen a bit more of it. But I liked that it was like a time capsule, this film, of encapsulating all the things he experienced and saw and witnessed in the 60s when he was a little kid, from his point of view. And I think this is his grand masterpiece. I think this is a film he should have went out on, and he's definitely worth being on this list. Number 3, Joker. I thought this was really interesting. Todd Phillips really outdid himself with this film. Joaquin Phoenix's performance is electrifying and powerful and scary in many ways, and he ultimately has to win the Oscar this year. But it was a really sort of engaging film. It was a gritty, dark world. Yes, it is very reminiscent of Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, but I think Todd Phillips also crafts his own sort of film here. It sort of looks at the psychology of a man and what can push a person to breaking point and what can happen after that breaking point. He was subtle with things, but there were certain things he beat on about. But as a film, I just thought it was original, unique, and it really blew me away with what he was able to accomplish. That combined with a towering performance by Joaquin Phoenix is just a very interesting film. I just think there's a lot of psychology there. There's a lot of things that maybe people can relate to, maybe not the dark and twisted stuff. But I also like the fact that the film, realistically, the film can be looked at as it's all in his mind. None of it really happened, but it's him imagining things, because there is those moments throughout the film. And I just think it's really beautifully shot and captured, and you really feel dirty and grimy, watching it as the characters experience it because of the way it looks. There were moments in it where I felt they could have dialed back things or didn't need to explain everything, but overall I did enjoy my experience with it, and it isn't a very comfortable film to watch, but very well done, and it is just one of the best films of this year. Number 2, Marriage Story. I did not expect this to be as good as it was. Noah Baumbach is someone I've liked some of his films but have disliked others. It felt like this was his masterpiece. It was something he had to say or wanted to say. It's sort of written and done like a play, which sort of works for it. This thing's worked out, there's beautiful sequences in it. The performances by Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson are phenomenal and brilliant, and probably the best of their career. And I really hope Scarlett Johansson is nominated for a performance here, because I think she's absolutely fantastic. There was a relatability to this film. Even if you haven't experienced a marriage breakdown or something like that, people have still gone through breakups or hard times or difficult situations, and how they've come out the other side. And this shows that even though things get difficult, there is a way through it. There is a way to get to the other side and for life to carry on in a sometimes better way. And I think that captured this. It just felt very real. There was humour in it, which is sort of realistic. There are humorous moments within difficult circumstances for a lot of people. I think it really established him as an original and unique voice who had something to really tell an audience. And this is based a lot on his personal experiences. So you really feel that watching this. You really feel there's an authenticity to it because of the fact it's something he went through and experienced. And I think a lot of the characters in the film are based on real people. And I just was blown away by this film. I was glued to the screen. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to have to go to the toilet. I was just immersed in it. And it connected with me on such a strong level that I was blown away. And it nearly became the number 1 film of the year for me, because I was just blown away by my experience with it. And I don't traditionally like, dramas where people are arguing or fighting, but there was something really unique about this that really connected with me. Okay, number 1. The one film of the year that really had the most impact on me, 2019, is Ad Astra. I thought this was phenomenal. It sucked me in. I was entertained. I like that it sort of made you think and feel for things that you wouldn't usually think or feel about. It really showed you a man. It was poetic. It was gorgeously and beautifully shot and looked fantastic. Brad Pitt was fantastic and gave one of his best performances. This, with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is really Brad Pitt's year, and in my opinion, with the two performances that he's given. Tommy Lee Jones gives the best performance he's given in many years. And I just like the feel of it. I like that space travel is normal. I like that we get to see space travel to the moon and Mars like that, and each location or planet we go to is completely different. I like the idea of, the moons being commercialized. I like the buggy chase where they shoot each other in space. Looks fantastic and is beautifully done. You're really connected with Brad Pitt's character, and you go on the journey with him, that you want him to accomplish his goals. But you sort of feel for him. He's trying to not show emotion at all, but yet the closer and closer he gets to his father, or working out if his father's still alive or not, the more he starts to break down, the more he starts to be affected by his experience. He's such a capable character, though. Thrown in a really difficult situation, he just jumps into action and knows exactly what to do and doesn't panic or get overcome by what's transpiring for him. I really love that. There's a real connection there, father, and it really looks at fathers and sons and our ideas of the world and loneliness and connectedness and how, we can separate ourselves from people and things just to accomplish a goal. But is that really healthy for us? Is that really contributing to making us the best person we can be? I don't know. But this film sort of asks those questions. I think it has a really great ending, and I like what it's trying to say. And like I said, I got swept up in the film, much like Marriage Story. I got glued to the screen. It just blew me away, and I had such a powerful experience with this film. In a way, it feels like a spiritual film of a character sort of coming to terms with himself and coming to terms with his situation. But also, it has an arc as well. He starts in one place and ends up in another. And it really asks the questions about what it means to be a human being. And I think that is just fantastic. When a film can be crafted like this, it's beautifully shot, unique and interesting concept, and telling a story that's universal but sort of hidden in this sort of space film is just fantastic. And it's one of the best space films I've seen in a while, probably since Interstellar. I just think James Gray outdid himself with this film, and I think it's his masterpiece. And I really want to see this get more recognition than it might be having. And I think many more people need to see this. It's definitely worth your time. This is definitely why this is number one of 2019 for me. Well, that's it. That's my top 8 films of 2019. I'm kind of looking forward to 2020. I hope the films are a little better. I think this year's been filled with a lot of good films, mediocre films, and bad films. And I hope next year is filled with many more really good films. Anyway, that's it from me today. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with the films I've picked for my 2 top films of 2019, or if you disagree, or if you have something to really talk about in regards to a particular film. I'd love to hear your comments. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope your 2019 has been really good. And until next year, enjoy the movies.